thought CJ did a decent job, part 6. And Ted White.
So any funny
That's it for me.
What about a funny story? I know you had mentioned Arsenio Hall. Was there a funny thing behind that? That when you went on to meet with him in your costume?
Well, yeah, I mean, Arsenio Hall asked me to come on the show in full costume, be a guest, and I'm like, he said, be in character. I said, look, I don't talk if I'm in character. He said, that's the point. And, you know, it'll be fun. And he says, but the only thing I ask, please don't mess with me when you're in the costume, because I am afraid of you, so. So of course I had to mess with him as much as I could, but at the end of the interview where he goes to shake my hand, I pulled him in and he was scared there. It was fun, but it was, you know, I was laughing the whole time under the mask because I didn't know what he was gonna ask me. And it was fun, but, you know, it was kind of weird staying in character when he asked me a question and I stare at him. So, you can find it on YouTube, I'm sure. Arsenio Hall, Jason, whatever. It's pretty funny. I did the show a second time too, but I was with the band and it wasn't as funny. So.
Yes.
Oh, definitely, because especially in the movie we did, there were so many stunts for Jason to perform, because she made things happen, that I wanted to be in charge of those stunts, since I was mostly doing them. I did a big fire stunt on that movie, and, you know.
We were in the basement, we were covered in the fire retardant. It was a very small room, that basement room was tiny.
Right.
It was small, so you smell the retardant. You don't fake fire. I think that's one thing I learned from Kane, is you don't fake fire. We can fake a lot of other things, but fire's there, you know?
Yeah, you know, and so if I'm doing so many stunts, I would rather be the coordinator, and, you know, and so I always was. I was always a coordinator on the action movies too. The part 8 and part Jason X were filmed in Canada, and I was forced to have a Canadian counterpart doing the stunts all as well, but, you know, that was fine. There weren't as many stunts for me to do, so not a big deal.
What do you think was your most difficult stunt? Anything that you've done?
Well, I mean, you know, it depends on what people consider scary. A difficult one that I did was in a movie called Fair Game. Cindy Crawford, Billy Baldwin, and I was playing a hitman, and Cindy Crawford and Billy Baldwin are on a train, and we know they're there, so we fly in on a helicopter, and we have to jump from the flying helicopter to the top of the moving train. 4 of us, 4 stunt people, and the other 3 were stunt doubles, and I was playing the character. And so it's at night, you're flying in a helicopter, it comes over the train, and the first stunt guy steps down onto the skid. I didn't know we were going to do that. He steps down onto the skid, which is a good 3 feet lower than the deck of the helicopter where we're sitting. He steps down on the skid and then jumps. I thought, oh, that'll be a lot easier. Second stunt guy steps down on the skid, jumps. I said, okay, not as bad as I thought. The stunt girl, doubling the actress, jumps from the deck. And I thought, you know, in my macho-ness, I said, I'm not gonna let the stunt girl jump higher than all the guys. So, of course, I had to jump from the deck too, which made it a lot harder. So we did it 3 times, 3 takes of that, all 4 of us jumping, and then the helicopter takes off. Then we broke for lunch. It was at night. We broke for the meal, and then while we're eating, it rains because it was done in Florida. And the director, Tony Scott, says, "Okay, we're going to do it a couple more times." And we're like, "Oh shit!" Now the helicopter's wet, the train's wet, and we're tired. fatigued from doing it 3 times already, so we had to do it 2 more times, jumping, and it all went fine, but it was a difficult thing to do because, you know, when you do stunts, you have to have a good common sense knowledge of physics. Something where it's almost like just a sense of what could go wrong. Let's see, how do you anticipate, you want this to go this way, but what if this happens? What are you gonna do? So you have to look ahead, and I honestly couldn't figure out, if I'm flying forward and I jump on a train that's moving forward, as soon as I hit, is that gonna tend to knock me back? Or because we're both moving forward, does that negate that feeling? So I really didn't know what to expect the first time, and it was in fact not the case that you get knocked back, you just land. And it was, you know, easier than I thought, but still a little scary, because if you don't land properly, you go between the train cars and you're gone. So that was a tricky one. And some of the fire stunts I've done have been pretty scary. The one I did in our movie was probably my favorite fire stunt that I've ever done. And this was just 11 years after my accident where I almost died from a fire stunt. So, you know, just depends on what people think is scary.
Do you ever do stunts for movies that you aren't a character in, or just try to coordinate for movies that you aren't really a part of?
Oh, yeah, I have. Especially early on, before I started, you know, playing characters myself, I did, I doubled Dan Aykroyd in a movie once, called Nothing But Trouble. Chevy Chase, John Candy, and, Dan Aykroyd played 2 characters in makeups. One was a Justice of the Peace character, and the other one was a fat baby, giant baby named Bobo. And whenever he was the Justice of the Peace, I was Bobo. So I had to wear big makeup and mimic his actions and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. It was more of an acting double, really. And, you know, I hadn't done that much makeup at the time, so it was interesting. And then, you know, I've done a lot of other big action movies, Batman Forever, Gone in 60 Seconds, Enemy of the State. Just a lot of car driving, you know. I love doing car chases. It's the most fun thing you can do as a stunt person, I think, because unless you're doing a flip or crashing a car or something, there's no damage done to your body, which is why I like doing fire, too. If you don't burn yourself up like I did, it's not one of those stunts that you're sore for 2 days afterwards, like so many, like flipping a car. You're gonna be sore for a couple days, but, so it's nice to do stuff like that, too.
I think this question will be for both of you. What are some of your current projects?
So I just did a film in Germany, which is the start of a show that's really fun. It's called Sky Sharks. Zombies on sharks attacking
I
planes.
think that.
And it was so much fun. I mean, you never think you're going to get to grow up and do something like that. And I'm a stewardess, and then they come in and we're completely attacked. It was really, really, really fun. You know, it's just silly fun. And I've done a few films in France and a few things in Texas. I have an acting school, film and television school, Actors Audition Studios in Dallas. So I've been doing that and writing. And looking at some film things again now. Interested in going back.
What about you, Kane?
Well, let's see, I did that movie in Australia last year called Charlie's Farm, about a serial killer who is played by someone else, not me. I play a ex-heavyweight fighter that goes to confront the killer, and had to do a big fight scene with him, and he's massive, the actor. Nathan Jones is his name. He's in the new Road Warrior movie. But he plays the killer, and he's, you know, I'm not exactly small, but he's 6'10", 340, and did a fight to the death with him. So that was pretty fun. It's a very cool movie. Bill Moseley's in it. He plays the killer's father in flashbacks. We shot about that over in Australia. I got one called Old 37, again with Bill Mosley. We play brothers that are demented, shocking to see both of us in a demented way, but we drive an ambulance and we have a scanner and we respond to 911 calls before the real people get there. And we take the victims away and do horrible things to them, but I think it's, you know, an untapped angle. I mean, what more vulnerable group of people could you exploit than people that are worried about their loved ones? They're not going to check for your credentials. When your loved one is dying and paramedics show up, even if they look like us, you're not going to question it. You just want to get help. So we take people away, and it's just
Oh,
terrible.
valet parking, you just give people your keys and hope they're gonna valet park your car.
Right.
In LA, just give them the keys.
And then did that one with John Schneider that he wrote and directed called Smothered. We play ourselves as horror, I don't care for the term, but horror icons that nobody gives a hell about it. So we go to like myself, R.A. Mihailoff, Don Shanks, who played Michael Myers in one of the movies, R.A. played Leatherface. We go to a convention, nobody cares about us anymore. So we get all bitter, and we get hired to haunt a trailer park for October. And we're like, yeah, sure. And we go there, and we start getting killed off by a serial killer. One by one. And the serial killer, it probably gives away too much, but I think it's ironic. The killer is a beautiful girl with large breasts. And she smothers people with them. It's a brilliant script, and it really is so well written. I mean, and Schneider was an expert at coming up with stuff on the fly. We'd shoot a scene one way, and then he'd say, wait a minute, what if we did this? And without fail, it would be amazing. For instance, at the end, I confront the killer. I have a mask on that she put super glue in, and I put it on just to scare the people in the trailer park. Then I can't get it off. And she supposedly tries to help me by pouring gasoline on it. And we did a scene where I realized she's the killer, and I confront her, I grab her gun, and I have her gun on, pointed at her, and she goes, go ahead and fire, you'll just set yourself on fire. Shoot the gun, you'll just set yourself on fire because you doused in gas. And then we cut. And then Schneider comes over and says, what if she says this? And tell me if this isn't more personal. I'm playing myself, remember. Now, next take, she says, go ahead and shoot the gun, you'll just set yourself on fire. You should know something about that, shouldn't you, Kane? Wow, and I said, oh, that is brilliant. That is so personal and so diabolical. You can shoot this girl. So, and he did that several times. It was amazing. And, you know, the fact that I worked with him years ago on News, you know, it's cool to work with him in that way.
Yes, you have a question?
This is for both of you, since you're both still in the business. What advice would you give to a young person who is interested in getting into the horror business?
Well, I would give advice for getting into acting in general, because it's such a dream of so many people, and you need to follow your creative instincts and desires, hopes, dreams, those types of things. I've written a book about not getting scammed, so close your wallet and be sure you're getting trained correctly. But to put some blinders on, get some training, and get your your foot in the door and toe in the water, and do some background work and atmosphere work. There's so many shows now being shot all over the country. Get some background work and see how you like it, and keep training. Because Kane and I were discussing this last night. It's our job to make sure you don't catch us acting, so we make it look so easy, when really it's more complicated than that, especially stunt work, of course. So I would just tell people to get really good training, find good coaches, and just get started. Get started and see how you like it.
Yeah, and then, you know, typically a kid that says they want to be an actor will be met with negativity.
Right.
Oh, come on, everybody wants to do, you know, but you gotta fight through that if you really wanna do it. And, you know, it's a tough business. Don't expect overnight success, for sure.
10 years to be a very nice success.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a huge market for older actors, a huge market for it, and you can start finding this dream at any age. You really can. I have actors in their 70s in the studios that are working, people that are.
And, you know, it's a tough business. Don't expect overnight success, for sure.
10 years to be a very nice success.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a huge market for older actors, a huge market for it, and you can start finding this dream at any age. You really can. I have actors in their 70s in the studios that are working, people that are in their 50s and 60s, depending on what your age is and how you look on camera. They're starting to get work and finding whole new careers and interesting, fun things they can do, because you don't have to be afraid, you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be thin, you can be anything to create a character. So, go for
Yeah,
it.
that's true. I mean, any look is probably gonna be fine, but it's just a matter of perseverance and,
Right.
you know, getting through all of the,
Yeah.
at times, I guess it happens quickly, but, you know.
Even
the-
if it seems like it happens quickly, there's usually a lot of training behind it. But
Right.
sometimes it does. I mean, you know, sometimes people do get picked up quickly and get some things, but usually it's over time, you know, over time that you build the career and make your connections and keep working. And as far as new actors, you have to have other jobs. So you train at night, you train on weekends, and I always say in classes, those of you that have shown up, yes, the weather's bad and it's hard and you're tired and you're exhausted, you show up, that's 90% of it. Show up, learn your training, and then get those auditions and get in there. And you're going to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of auditions before you start booking something other than background, but you just keep going. And there's so many career fields. Like in my book, I list over 100 fields in our industry that aren't in front of the camera. There are so many behind the camera, everything from catering to makeup to wardrobe to, I mean, there's so many things that you can do if you want to be in a creative field.
Yeah, and, you know, once somebody is really serious about a career, they don't really care how long it takes. You just go through it, and like me, I wanted to be a stunt person so badly that, you know, my first year in the business, I almost got killed doing a fire stunt, but I continued with it and kept doing fire stunts. But, you know, for 8 years at least, I lived on unemployment, did whatever warehouse jobs I could do, drove a police car, a car I bought from the auction at Highway Patrol, and, you know, but it didn't matter.
That's
I
what
was
you do.
still gonna make it succeed and have a career in what I wanted to do, so it really doesn't matter. People that, you know, do it briefly and then give up because it's too hard, they weren't serious about it.
Right, it wasn't an internal dream that they had to do, and with parents and even spouses, I say, you can't make them children, and you can't stop them. If it's really something you're going to do, you'll find a way to. I drove a $300 car for years. In fact, on House 2, my $300 car blew up, and I got to drive my manager's Jag to that final audition. We worked on House 2
Yeah, we
together.
did House 2 together, that's
And
right.
pulled over on the side of the road, and my car's dead. And he's like, oh, I'll bring mine. I'm like, oh no, I was driving a Jag to the audition. It was very cool. But you know, you just get in there and survive and keep working, and then you have some success. And it's also like a drug. As soon as you feel like you need to stop a while, you'll get a bite that will turn into something fabulous, and then you're back into your passion and doing it all over again. So find a way to make it happen for yourself if it's something you or someone you love wants to do.
There's a comment that Kevin Bacon had made that has stuck with me in Crystal Lake memories, that when he went out there, he thought there were two kinds of people in Hollywood. There were stars and there were people waiting on tables.
Or
And
both.
it wasn't until he'd been there a while that he realized there's a whole community of people making a living on the middle steps of the ladder.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's actors and photography and promotional things everywhere you look, from parts modeling and working in commercials to televisions and web series and, you know, the Holocaust and the music. There's so many new mediums now, and we're both union people, Screen Actors Guild Union, so of course we want to get people to go the professional actor route with being in the union also.
Had a question
doesn't, it doesn't really bother me. It's hard for me to complain about sequels when I started in part 7 of a film series, so I can't say, they suck, because I would never be in this particular situation if it hadn't happened. I mean, and I say that I just wanted to be a working stunt person. That was my dream. So for me to have played a role that's known around the world, I think I still have a hard time believing that people want me to sign stuff for them. Because I never expected that. There are so many people that go into acting because they want to be famous.
Some do, yes, some do, and they can do that. They can do that. But those of us that are, actors to our core, we study it, we read scripts, we hang out with people that do it. It's really our lives. I've been directing 3 plays in Dallas this last semester. On the 30th, they're all finally done, so I'm happy with that. But it's really a gracious, I'm very grateful that people want to see you and visit with you from work you've done, that they've had fun watching, because that's what we want to do. We want to make it so that you have fun watching what we've done, right? And how it's put together at the end. And it's a collaboration of so many people. An actor gets all the credit when something's fabulous, and we didn't have that much to do with it. We didn't write it, usually cast it, direct it, score it, edit it, market it. But when it sucks, we get all the blame, and we didn't have anything to do with making it rotten either. So, we develop a thick skin, and I always say it's the process of doing that we really love. But over the last few years, I've found I've really enjoyed also meeting everyone when I've gotten to go to some of the conventions. That's been really fun.
Well, as being a part of the film industry that you've been witnessing, everything evolving as years have come by, how do you feel the horror film industry? Do you think it's getting better? The stories are getting richer? Do you think it's losing its luster? Where do you think that horror films are going on that aspect?
I like Psycho and Twilight Zone and Why Did Freddy's Nightmares. I really like the mysterious part, and I love the mysterious part of Tina in this show. But I was a Friday the 13th fan to start with, so I did like the series up until I did it. And I don't know. I think there is a little bit of a lost art to some of the scary. I think some of the scary is a lost art right now. I'd like to see more of the mysterious. I like the hard to figure out, kind of really scary things. I'm not really sure where it's going. I love Walking Dead. I've had a blast watching it. I think the characters are great. I've got some students on the shows, but I like how the zombies have personality. The whole show, it's a subculture of personalities. So I don't know about horror in general. What do you think?
I always loved horror. I still do, and so I don't tend to analyze it too much. I'm just open-minded to whatever comes out. If it's something new, fine. If it's a remake, I'll take a look at it, because if I like the original, I'd like to see how they do it. I think Rob Zombie did a good job with the Halloween movies. And I did Devil's Rejects with him. I did the stunts in that movie, and that was always kind of a cool thing for me to work with somebody I had admired with his music and his previous films. I don't tend to criticize it too much. I'm pretty open-minded. Just take a look and see what's new.
I liked the Saw series because of the psychological aspect of the people being involved. Oh, here's an interesting thing. One of the actors in one of the Saw films, a lot of the actors will sign pictures for me to put on the studios to help inspire new up-and-coming artists in all fields. And he had worked with the director of a Saw film as a student director for an unpaid student college film. And later he wrote, "Look, you never know." And here he is, he was starring in a Saw film.
Well, yeah, I mean, for instance, the guy that was the main makeup artist for me on Jason Goes to Hell, he designed and, sometimes applied the makeup. He created the Walking Dead series. So he went from makeup artist, he's an executive producer, Craig Nicotero. Yeah, he did my makeup for parts of that, or part 9, sorry, Jason Goes to Hell. So, yeah, you certainly can move up. I mean, I've had some pretty cool experiences over the years. thinking that I would do an acting scene with an actress who wins an Oscar for her portrayal in that movie is pretty amazing. Just, you know, I guess it's a minor thing, but it's pretty exciting to me. I did the stunts in a movie called Monster, and Charlize Theron won an Oscar for that character, and I did a scene with her where I played the cop that arrested her at the end. So it's kind of cool to, and I credit to watching people like her work if I have any ability in acting, because I've never been trained as an actor. And you watch somebody like that every day, because I was a stunt coordinator, I was always there, watching her perform and watching her get into certain mindsets on set was pretty good training.
We have time for 2 more questions. Go ahead.
Since Jason didn't speak in any of the movies, how did you audition for the part?
Yeah, pretty much. No, you know, it's a fairly common knowledge story, but I did a movie called Prison with Rennie Harlan. Again, I was a stunt coordinator on it, and at the end of the shooting, John Binkler, who was doing the makeup effects for that movie, came to me and said, we have a full body makeup that somebody needs to wear for a character at the end of the movie. He's strapped to an electric chair, comes out of the ground, and I said, well, I've never done a big makeup like that, but I'd be happy to do it. So I played a character called Forsyth, and it was prosthetics, 3.5 hours of different pieces, full body, lenses, dentures, everything. And Binkler, who was the makeup effects chief, liked how I worked in the makeup, and said, you know, it's not easy to do, and especially if you have to do it more than one day. And the following year, he was hired to direct our movie, and immediately told the people, the producers, I want this guy to play Jason. And they're like, oh, who is he? He's a stunt guy, but there's a lot of stunts for Jason to do. He needs to be a stunt guy, and he works well on the makeup. So I didn't audition, but I did have to do a screen test. I put a version of the costume on, and Binkler and I shot some scenes. I brought a buddy of mine and did terrible things to him on camera. And just to show that I could play that character, then Binkler showed them the footage, and they said, okay, so that's how I got the job. There was never anyone else being considered at the time. If they had looked at the film and said, nah, it doesn't look right, then they would have looked elsewhere. But fortunately for me, Binkler was on my side, and that's why I got it.
No, you got a question over there?
Well, I thought for a long time what happened, the tragedy that happened with the late Heath Ledger, with his role in The Dark Knight, I feel like that affected what happened here. I was wondering, in that business, kind of in the horror business, is that like a reality, a challenge that you guys have to face? I mean, is there like a detox period after those types of roles, or anything like that?
Not for me. I mean, I'm always playing the horrible, terrible bad guy, but I pretty easily leave it at the set. I've never had any issues with that. It's an interesting question, though, because maybe some people have. Obviously, some people have. But it's never affected me, really. It just seems to be pretty, you know, two sides of a personality. You have to be able to be convincingly violent, but at the same time not, you know, do that in real life. And I don't know, I've never had that issue.
I would have the issue of, Tina was a very vulnerable, sweet, tormented, tortured type of character. And for me, it was a physical drain because of her emotions. I didn't want her just bawling for 2 hours on camera, but she had different levels of her intensity, and I physically manifest that with migraines and things like that. So physically coming down after so many days of shooting, with this guy around and all of it, and just the tension to make it look so real is more than a lot of people know. So physically I would get really exhausted, and then I would find after playing my general slut, bitchy, horror, alcoholic, drug characters that I played most of my life, I would just find that other people would think I was really bitchy, snotty, and horrible, and I'm like, no, I'm really not. But But other than that, I never had any kind of psychological issue with the characters themselves.
And I always took the performance very seriously, wanted it to be authentic and was very, I guess, kind of method with making sure it looked right. But at the same time, so that I didn't obsess on it, I would entertain myself on the set, mostly on the set, by doing things like having a confidant bring the visitor to the set over to look at the Jason dummy, which was me. And I would be propped up in an odd angle, and they'd say, Dad, there's a Jason dummy we're using in the next shot. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, that looks real, and poking on me. And yeah! Scare the hell out of me, just entertain myself. So I didn't take it too seriously that way. Because you had, you know, it can be tense and very difficult, so you have to try and, you know, make it light too. I don't think they liked it, but I certainly did.
I'm sure.